Hello, my name is Andrea Banuelos and my partner is Valery Garcia. And today in our infomercial, we'll be going over what is sociology, the relevance of sociology, the three paradigms, and our topic is poverty, and why sociology is important, and how each paradigm views our topic, which is poverty. So first we have what is sociology. So sociology is a study of how people live, work, and interact in society. It looks at things like family, culture, and social class and how it affects what we do, believe, and how we relate to each other. And a good example to think about would be education. A sociologist would think about different types of schools, like public or private schools can lead to different opportunities in life. So one person who goes to a private school may get better opportunities than one who would go to a public school. And sociology helps us see the bigger picture of how society influences us as an individual or as a whole. It also helps us understand problems in our society like poverty, crime, and inequality so that we are able to find ways to solve them. This makes it very important in improving how we live together as a community so that our society can run smoothly together. I'm going to be playing a short 2-minute video and it's going to be going over sociology. So next we have the social sciences that relate to sociology. There were 3 social sciences that stood out to me that I thought that they best relate to one another and they go hand in hand with each other. The first would be psychology. Sociology is similar to psychology because they both study people and their behavior. But there's a difference. Psychology focuses on how individuals think and feel, while sociology looks at how society influences our thoughts and our feelings. An example would be to think about social media. A psychologist might study how it affects a person's self-esteem, while sociologists might see how social media, group behavior like trends and movement affects us. Next is going to be sociology and economics. And they're related because they both study money, jobs, and resources. Economics focuses on numbers like how much money people make and how jobs are distributed. Sociology looks at how those things affect our community and us as an individual. And lastly would be sociology connecting with political science because both study how societies are organized and governed. Political science focuses more on the government, the laws, while sociology looks at how social issues like poverty or protest influence politics. An example for this one would be how sociologists study how movements like voting, rights, protests lead to changes in our government policies. Next, we have the 3 paradigms, which is functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. The first paradigm that I'll be going over is functionalism. This is the idea how society as a system works all together in parts so that we are able to keep it running smoothly. An example would be schools teach people skills so that they are able to get jobs, and jobs help us gain income so that we are able to support our families and ourselves. And even poverty plays a role. It motivates us to work harder and improve our situations if we are not in the best situation. It encourages us to get out of it and do better for ourselves, our families, and just everyone around us. Functionalism focuses on how every part of society has a purpose, even if it doesn't always seem fair. The next paradigm would be conflict theory, which looks at how society is divided. It says that some groups like the wealthy have more power and resources, while others like the poor have less. For example, think about the gap between the rich and the poor. A conflict theorist would say this happens because resources are not shared equally, powerful groups create systems that keep others at a disadvantage. Conflict theory helps us understand why problems like poverty and inequality exist. The third paradigm is symbolic interactionism. This one focuses more on how people interact and create meaning through everyday communication and just our interactions with others around us. For example, we would want to think about how labels like rich and poor shape how people see themselves. So if you're talking to someone and you're dressed a certain way, but they're like dressed better, then they're gonna put a label on you and think that you're poor and that they're richer than you. Small interactions like this can build up and influence our society in bigger ways. These three perspectives, functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism, help us understand society in different ways and not just only viewing it in the smaller picture, but helps us view it in a bigger picture. Each one offers a different way of thinking about how society works and how it impacts us, not only as individuals, but as a group, and it helps us to be able to understand why things happened.
So the topic we decided to do was poverty. The definition of poverty is the condition of not having access to material resources, income, or wealth. And that could look different ways, not only lacking the resources, but lacking opportunities to improve one's life. This is also by being limited access to education, healthcare, housing, and employment. So the functionalist perspective on poverty, the functionalist views society as a complex system that has different parts that will work together in order to have society function and maintain stability and also keep like the social order. As you can see in the picture, there is in the middle of it, there's social order, and the things around it are things such as family, which is your primary socialization, and then we have your education that's important, and then we have religion and crime, and all of those work together in parts to maintain social order and maintain stability in society. So the way functionalists would view poverty is that it is a necessary part of the social structure because they would see it as a way that if you are in poverty, it would motivate you to want to work harder to get out of it. So the way that a functionalist perspective theorist would see poverty would be that it is, even though it's an unfortunate part of society, it is needed because we need people like the minimum wage workers and the service industry workers to have the jobs that they do that may unfortunately place them in poverty, but we need those people in society just as well as we need the people that make a living wage, such as like doctors and such. So it's like, even though it's like a bad take, it is a necessary part that is needed, and that's how they would explain poverty. So, the conflict theory and poverty, they view poverty as an unequal distribution of resources. Um, they basically explain it how society is set up in a capitalist system where you have the wealthy class, which we would call the bourgeois, and then we have the working class, which is the proletariats. And the working class is basically being exploited for their labor um, by the wealthy class because they control the means of production. And then you could kind of see that represented in the picture where you have the man standing on the big stack of coins. That's like the bourgeois, he's like the one in charge. He's the owner of the company and he has accumulated a lot of wealth. And then you have the working class, which is like the workers that are working for this man who are on much smaller coins. So you could see that like this is a system that keeps people working and basically in a poverty like state while the Burgoyes are just accumulating their wealth more and more each day. So, a symbolic interactionalist perspective on poverty. Symbolic interactionism theories will focus on how like everyday interactions will shape a person's behavior, identity, and such. So while one person will interpret a certain way and give it a meaning, another person might do it differently. So the way that poverty is viewed in this viewpoint is that not only is it an economic condition, but it is also a social construct. And this social construct is shaped by society and how we view people who are in that poverty or like the lower class. Um, and then because of the social stigma of this, because people think that like, oh, you're in poverty because you don't work hard enough or you don't know how to spend your money um efficiently or whatever reason it may be. They're stereotyped as undeserving or lazy, and then due to this, like they face that discrimination. But this is like the identity that's being placed by the perceptions of people. That's just like how they view people who are in poverty. But that may not be the case. They might be in poverty because they don't have any other choice. Like that's the job that they have, and it pays like a minimum wage. They can't afford to get another job because they don't have childcare or they're like the source of transportation. Like there could be a lot of reasons, but I think in society we're often stuck with the hustle mentality. Like we need to grind. America is like the land of opportunities, but um that may not be the case for people who are living in poverty, but that's just what they're stereotyped as. And then why sociology matters. I put in a short little clip so we could view that. So yeah, I don't think there is one right answer. There's no one right theoretical perspective between functionalism, conflict, and symbolic interactionism. I think they all kind of have some type of logic, and I think knowing every perspective and how they view certain topics such as poverty does help explain society and possibly find solutions to these problems. Thank you.